Hello YouTubers, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe if you didn't already and give me a thumbs up or a like on these videos if you think they're a help. Today we're going to talk about something essential, not just to mandolin, but to any instrument that you would play, studying the fretboard and working on all these different devices that I talk about here. If it's scales or modes, arpeggios, double stops, whatever it might be, you're not going to get the mileage out of those things if you don't know the notes on the fretboard. The first video that I ever made was actually this topic, and you know how early things that you do, you look back on and wish they were better. I'm going to use different notes today than I did in that particular video. I'm just going to go right up the 3rd fret on the mandolin, which is a G, C, F, and a B flat. We're tuned in fifths. G would be the 5th to a C. C is the 5 to an F. F is the 5 to a B flat. So the way that I like to do this, instead of taking one string and trying to memorize those notes all the way up the fretboard, I think it's a healthy thing on the mandolin if you just looked at from the nut to the 12th fret and thought of it as having one opportunity to play each of those notes, and let's find those notes on all 4 of the strings. This is going to create points of reference all over the fretboard, and we may get back to that and talk about it some more on the end of the video. But for right now, let's just do this with the G notes. From the top string is a G note open. Then we would have the 5th fret of the D string. Now the 10th fret on the A string. Look at that. That's an interesting thing too. If you're aware of the fact that the notes all repeat at the 12th fret, that's E, A, D, and G. A lot of times it helps. That's a point of reference. So we could calculate backwards from this A note. If you thought of it that way, there's a G note at the 10th fret. Instead of having to say, okay, A, B flat, B, C, all the way up the neck to here, go from the 12th fret and calculate backwards if you haven't ever thought of using that as a strategy to get where you need to be in terms of note identification. So there's our G note, 10th fret, A string, and then we end up here, 3rd fret, E string. So in this exercise, I would play each one of these notes 4 times. Things, if you're counting something musically, a lot of times it's going to be in counts of 4 or 8. So we could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll move on to the next note, the C's. Right above that G note here, this C. So I'm going to walk you through those. C, the 5th fret on the G string, 10th fret on the D string, 3rd fret on the A string, 8th fret on the E. Now you might be noticing here, those octave notes, if we just played the scale, starting from each one of those notes, would lead us right back to that octave. Maybe that could help you with this process, but in the end, you're going to want to know, again, with the 4 counts, those C notes. Now on to F. Once again, I'll take you through those. 10th fret, G string. There's your F note. You might recognize that from chopping in this neighborhood of the fretboard where your ring finger would just automatically know to go to that 10th fret and that we have a fret marker there. So anyway, 10th fret G string is an F note. Now we have 3rd fret on the D, 8th fret on the A string, 1st fret on the E. There's no half step between E and F. Now our last note, as we kind of sweep up the fretboard, B flat. We're going to see those octave shapes again. B flat, 3rd fret, G string, 8th fret D, 1st fret A, 6th fret on the E string. Okay? Now I'm going to go through all of these notes: G, C, F, B flat. Play each one of them 4 times and play each note on each string, starting with the G's. Now the C notes. Now the F's. And the B flats. So there you have it. Our exercise is complete. And I think this is an easier approach to this and more likely to work for you rather than trying to memorize each string right up the string. It's helped me. And back to that thought, points of reference. What I just said about no half step between E and F. If you're aware of that, and then you know what we just did, and you're familiar with where all of those F notes are, you should be able to calculate right in the process of playing something that the E notes are going to be a half step flat of all of those Fs. So not just those F notes, but all of these are going to be points of reference on the fretboard. Now, if you've watched the first video that I did about this topic, that's just called Note Identification, I think is what it's named. I did the E, A, D, and the G strings. Open, found all of the notes. So we're repeating the G and what we're looking at today, but that's 7 of the notes. We're over halfway there. But I would say take 4 notes at a time and see if this doesn't begin to make a real difference in your note identification on the fretboard, because without this knowledge, the other things that you're working so hard on are not going to be as easy to apply to your playing. So this is just straight up studying the fretboard. It's eat your vegetables kind of stuff. Hope it helps.